Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something almost every single one of us has dealt with at some point in our lives: debt. And specifically, I want to answer a question that gets asked in my comments constantly. Snowball or Avalanche? Which one actually works? Now, here's a stat that might surprise you. The average American household carries over $6,000 in credit card debt alone. And if you add in student loans, auto loans, and personal loans, that number balloons dramatically. And yet, when you ask people how they're paying it off, most of them don't even have a method. They're just throwing money at whatever bill feels the loudest that month. No system, no plan, just vibes and anxiety. I mean, I get it. Debt is stressful. It's the kind of thing that sits in the back of your mind at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep. But here's the thing. The way you pay off debt matters almost as much as the fact that you're paying it off at all. And today, I want to walk you through two of the most talked about methods: the snowball and the avalanche. Break down the real math behind each one, and then tell you honestly which one I think actually works for real people, not just spreadsheets.
What people get wrong about debt payoff? Here's the myth. People assume debt payoff is purely a math problem. Find the highest interest rate, attack that first, save the most money, done. That's the Avalanche method in a nutshell. And mathematically, it's correct. But the reality is, personal finance is not just math. It's called personal finance for a reason. It's psychological. It's emotional. And if your method doesn't account for how a human being actually behaves under stress, it doesn't matter how correct the math is, because most people quit before they ever see the benefit. That's the gap nobody talks about. The spreadsheet doesn't care about your motivation. Your brain does.
The Avalanche Method. Let's start with the Avalanche, because on paper, this is the smart choice. Here's how it works. You list every single debt you have, and you rank them by interest rate, highest to lowest. You pay minimums on everything, and every extra dollar you have goes toward the debt with the highest interest rate. Once that one's gone, you roll that payment into the next highest rate, and so on. Let's say you've got 3 debts: a credit card at 24% interest, a personal loan at 12%, and a car loan at 6%. With the Avalanche method, that credit card gets crushed first, because every month it's sitting there, it's the one bleeding you dry the fastest. And mathematically, this saves you the most money over time. Full stop. If we're being honest here, there is no version of this where the Avalanche doesn't win in raw dollars saved. So why doesn't everybody use it?
The Snowball Method. This is where the snowball comes in, and this is the method most people have actually heard of, mostly thanks to Dave Ramsey. Instead of ranking by interest rate, you rank your debts from smallest balance to largest balance, completely ignoring the interest rate. You attack the smallest debt first with everything you've got, while paying minimums on the rest. Once that smallest one is paid off, you take that payment and roll it into the next smallest, and the debt starts to snowball. Get it? Growing bigger and bigger as you knock things out one by one. Now, here's the myth versus fact moment I promised you. People assume the snowball is the dumb method because it ignores interest rate. But the reality is, the snowball isn't a math strategy. It's a psychology strategy. It's designed around one simple truth about human beings. We need to see progress to stay motivated. I remember paying off my very first small debt. It was actually a $400 balance on an old store credit card. And closing that account gave me this genuine rush of accomplishment. That feeling is not something a spreadsheet can calculate, but it's the exact feeling that keeps people showing up month after month instead of giving up in month 4. Which one actually works? So, which one do I recommend? Honestly, it depends on you. And I mean that seriously, not as a cop-out. If you're someone who's disciplined, who doesn't need constant emotional wins to stay on track, who can look at a spreadsheet and feel motivated purely by knowing you're minimizing total interest paid, go Avalanche. You'll save more money, plain and simple. But if you're someone who's tried to pay off debt before and quit, If you know deep down that you need quick wins to keep your motivation alive, the snowball might genuinely get you further, even if it costs you a little more in interest along the way. And listen, a slightly more expensive plan that you actually finish beats a cheaper plan you abandon in month 5 every single time. I am frugal because I learned this lesson the hard way. I used to think discipline alone would carry me through anything. It didn't. I needed to feel forward motion. And once I gave myself permission to prioritize that feeling over pure optimization, I actually started making real progress.
The hybrid nobody talks about. Here's something most videos on this topic won't tell you. You don't actually have to pick just one. A lot of people use what's sometimes called the snowball with a twist. You knock out 1 or 2 small debts first for that quick emotional win, and then, once you've built some momentum, you switch over to Avalanche mode and go after the highest interest rate debt with everything you've got. This gives you the best of both worlds. You get that early psychological boost, and then you let the math take over once you've proven to yourself that you can actually stick with this. The big 3 come first. Now, before any of this even matters, I need to be honest with you about something. If your housing, transportation, and food costs are eating your entire paycheck, no debt payoff method is going to save you. This is the part people skip because it's less exciting than talking about snowballs and avalanches, but it's the actual foundation. Before you get aggressive on debt, make sure your big 3 expenses are under control. That might mean downsizing. That might mean a cheaper car. That might mean meal planning instead of eating out 5 nights a week. I know that's not what you want to hear, but the reality is you cannot out-strategy a budget that doesn't have any breathing room in it. Automate it so willpower isn't the variable. Whichever method you choose, automate it. Set up an automatic payment the day after your paycheck hits, so the money is gone before you even have the chance to talk yourself out of it. Willpower is finite. Automation isn't. Pay yourself first applies here too, except in this case, you're paying your future self by not letting debt payments feel optional.
Emergency fund still matters. One more honest warning here. If you go all in on debt payoff with 0 emergency fund, 1 flat tire or 1 medical bill, and you're right back into debt, except now you're demoralized on top of it. I always recommend a small starter emergency fund, even just $1,000, before going aggressive on any debt payoff plan. It's not exciting, but it's the difference between a small bump in the road and a full derailment. So here's what I want you to walk away with. There is no universally correct debt payoff method. The avalanche wins on paper. The snowball wins in real life for a lot of people, because real life isn't a spreadsheet. It's a human being trying to stay motivated for months, sometimes years. The best method is the one you'll actually stick with until the debt is gone. That's it. That's the whole secret. Not some magic formula, just brutal honesty about how you personally function under pressure. And if you're sitting there right now feeling overwhelmed by debt, I want you to know that feeling is not a reflection of your worth or your intelligence. The system around us makes debt easy to fall into and genuinely hard to climb out of. You're not behind because you're bad with money. You're behind because nobody ever sat you down and explained any of this clearly. That ends today. Thank you so much for watching. And if this video helped you, you know what to do. Give it a like. And go check out the video I made on building your